Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob, and today we'll be jumping into malicious compliance. Before we start, please hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you know when the next video goes live. Our first story today comes to us from Ansela Johnla. If you absolutely insist that I have to move the pallet immediately, then move it, I will. Let's jump right in. I'm a retail merchandiser. I assist with refits and new store setups, or sometimes just get sent to be an extra pair of hands where a store has too many people off sick or on holiday. And even during refits, we're sometimes expected to work the delivery for the aisles that we've been rearranging that night, as the store's own staff have, for obvious reasons, been unable to access them all night. On this particular shift, we'd been doing the beers, wines, and spirits section. Now, this is the sort of shift where you're practically guaranteed to get some wastage, bottles smash, cans split. It's just accepted as the price of moving literally hundreds of them in the course of a single night. All you can do is hope you're not the one who goes home smelling like a brewery. We'd finished up the actual move and had started working the 6 pallets of delivery as well, but the store manager was fretting. He was starting to get very antsy about our chances of finishing up and clearing the floor before the store opened for the day, and his main concern was about how we were handling the overstocks. We had absolutely blitzed the first pallet, all hands working it and it alone, in order to empty it so we could stack the overstocks onto it. As soon as the last case of booze was removed from the blue boards, we moved the overstocks onto it, and then split up to work the other 5 pallets simultaneously. As we worked, we added more to the first pallet. When we're in luck, we can get the overstocks from 6 pallets of delivery onto a single pallet. By the time the manager comes around, dragging a pump truck with him, the stack was about 4 boxes high, about hip height on me. It wasn't the prettiest pallet stack you've ever seen, but it was stable, while it wasn't moving. Someone had gone to fetch a roll of pallet wrap so we could move it safely, but that's the sort of thing that store staff tend to hide and guard jealously, so we knew he'd be gone a while. What's this pallet? Delivery overs. It needs to be off the floor. Coworker has gone to get the shrink. I want it gone now. It's not safe to move without wrap. You don't need that if it's stacked properly. Move it now. At that point, he shoved the handle of the pump truck at the closest person, which was me, and he stood back to make sure that we removed the pallet from the shop floor. Now, I'm not the best pump truck operator in the world. I have a lack of proprioception that extends to anything that I'm pushing, pulling, carrying, or steering. Normally, I wouldn't go anywhere near a pallet of glass bottles, but everyone else backed away. They knew what would happen if anyone jacked that pallet up and tried to move it, and they wanted no part of it. The manager obviously wanted it moving though, and it was his store. So I carefully got the forks under the pallet, no ramming it in for this baby, gently lifted it off the floor, and started moving as smoothly as I could. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, entered the slalom of bakery tables and fridges between alcohol and warehouse. I surprised myself by getting past the individual rolls table without incident, but when I started to maneuver around the cream cakes fridge, I heard the unmistakable sound of bottles smashing. I looked behind me to confirm it. A corner of the pallet had decided to acquaint itself with the linoleum-covered concrete floor. Wine, whiskey, vodka, and rum were all mixed in a spreading puddle on the floor. Oh, and on the manager who'd been following behind, presumably wanting his pump truck back once the pallet was stowed away, who hadn't bothered to try and stabilize the collapsing boxes. My team leader had also been following at a more sensible distance. Looks like it needed wrapping. Alright, I have to admit, I had to look up proprioception, not a word I've ever heard before. Apparently, it's the perception or awareness of the position and movement of the body. Learn something new every day. Thanks, OP. It sounds to me like there was a little bit of alcohol abuse going on here, but at least they got into the spirits of the occasion. Our second story comes to us from G.A. Armstrong 318, The Tribulations of Commuting by Bike, a tale of not paying attention. Let's jump right in. Before I begin, I need to make a couple of important points. 1, I'm on mobile, so excuse grammar and formatting. 2, this happened 5 years or so ago. 3, this happened in the UK. On with our tale. The company I had been working at brought in new rules, processes, and whatnot regarding business continuity, and as such, we all had to switch to laptops that had to be taken home with us. I was one of 4 people who commuted almost exclusively via motorbike, except in the depths of winter. And herein lied the problem for us bikers. The rules they set up didn't include any provision for bikers, even the lycra louts. I was the first to speak to HR and the department organizing all this to ask about this, as all the rules said the laptop had to be kept in the stowage area of the vehicle, i.e. the boot or trunk for you Yanks. However, bikes don't have this. Also, part of the terms and conditions of my insurance stated I cannot carry items over a certain size and or weight in a backpack while riding. Also, lithium batteries could not be carried this way, full stop. I actually checked, and 4 of the last 5 insurance policies I have state this. HR responded with, we have to abide by the rules, and as such, we must have relevant storage fitted to our bikes. However, the storage items themselves are a company property and can't be used for personal things. Also, the company will pay for this to be done. Also, if you need to add insurance for carrying work items, you must obtain this and the company will reimburse you. If you don't do this and refuse to take your laptop home, you will face disciplinary until you do. Here is where we bikers get clever. We all go to the same place in my city that works on bikes and all purchase the same kit for our bike, which is a frame for attaching the pannier boxes and top boxes, and purchase a full set of boxes for each bike. Then, we also buy separately another full set of boxes. During this, it turns out 3 out of 4 bikes will need to have some rear panels cut into to allow the frames to attach. Because of this, we had the shop order new panels for the bikes as well. We all then approached HR and handed over the bills, approximately 400 to 600 pounds per bike for the frame and fitting, and another 500 pounds for the boxes. We got cheaper boxes in the second order. My bill total was 1,080 pounds including VAT. HR actually refused to pay anything as they said it was our choice to fit the stuff or face disciplinary for not taking the laptops home each day, at which point the most senior of us pulled out the email that said they would pay for the work. He argued the company was essentially blackmailing us and he wouldn't stand for it. However, HR stood firm. It took nearly 6 weeks of arguing, especially after we billed them for the replacement body panels. They were only small, but we wanted new parts if the frames were removed. But in the end, after a threat of involving solicitors, lawyers to you Yanks, the company backed down. However, they refused any future request and exempted staff with only bikes of a main transport, not including public, from being disciplined for not taking laptops home. So in the end, I got a pannier and top box frame attached to my bike and paid for by the company, and I bought a sweet set of panniers and boxes as well for when I left. The company paid out around 5,000 pounds in total to us 4 bikers. However, they never learned, and I still hear of them making dumb mistakes or oversights that end up costing them money. In one case, over $1 million. Take care and stay safe all. You think the company would have saved a lot of money by just buying them another computer they could use at home? A little bit of secure storage at work for the one that's there, and they would be good to go. It's obvious this company didn't really think outside of the box though. Our next story comes to us from Dementation Revised. My timesheets aren't accurate enough? Alright then, let's jump right in. Timesheets have become a battle at work in our relatively small but growing company. To wit, our timesheets serve 2 masters. On the one hand, they provide important information on where all of our efforts are going and who is being overworked. On the other, they form the basis of our billing to our clients. I'm a technical PM who occasionally jumps in to do admin work on a Salesforce database when our solution architects and BAs are too busy. I'm rusty, and I don't feel clients should have to pay for me having to remember how to do something or search something, do a write-up, and run it by an SA before implementing in our sandboxes. I suggest something similar to our admin trainees because they're learning, I tell them to bill half the time they worked on deliverables to our client and half to a training budget while they get their bearings so the client isn't being billed for learning time. New management feels that, as a result, our timesheets are inaccurate. Consequently, they now review my timesheets on a weekly basis, despite the fact that I only do it to save clients money. Fair enough, I suppose, except that a few clients have essentially signed separate work orders for major overhauls to the system with a budget associated with each. Easy if you're doing the actual work, as our BAs and SAs do. Problem is, our time tracking system has 0 tasks associated with overhead, and a lot of what I do is scrape the system to create documentation, internal and external, keep track of overall schedule, and keep as much unnecessary paperwork away from our SA and BA as possible. In other words, overhead. I have asked for tasks associated with overhead to be included and/or better guidance on what to do if I don't feel a client should be billed for work for one reason or another. A number of people have shared my concern. We have gotten nothing of the sort, and I continue to have timesheet reviews. The most guidance I got was, write detailed notes and we can figure it out afterwards. Well, okay then. Timesheets now get updated every hour. Clients with tons of tasks and subtasks and no overhead get a completely unique ad hoc solution to how the time is notated. The notes section of each item provides a detailed explanation of why I entered the amount of time that I did for the particular task, including whether or not it was an arbitrary division. The notes are quite detailed. If it ever takes me at least 10 minutes to type up my explanations, I throw in a 15-minute log time for explaining how my time was supposed to work and why I billed my work where I did, which gets charged to HR tasks. I also gave them a 15-minute charge every day for making and remaking coffee, and a generic 15-minute charge for bathroom breaks, both clearly labeled as such. Having recently been told that level of detail was gratuitous and unnecessary, I simply informed them that the guidance I was given was to write detailed notes, and until I have a way of denoting overhead in a consistent fashion that does not arbitrarily hit fixed funds for deliverables the clients expect, I will do what I was told was best practice. Our reviews have gotten quite boring, as I assure my supervisors that everything I have to say is on the timesheet and I have nothing further to add. Quick clarification, because a lot of people are especially concerned about unnamed company's revenue stream. Billing some of my time to training or something to that effect, while debatable in my view, is not the major issue. The point is, there is no overhead task associated with client work, and that's a lot of what I do. I was audited for inconsistencies regarding the training code, explained the issue, but pointed out that without an overhead task associated with clients, I'm either arbitrarily charging random tasks for specific agreements, or I'm burying that potential revenue in internal overhead anyways. That issue has not been fixed, and I continue to be audited. Hence the malicious compliance. I'm not going to keep finding loosely associated tasks to stuff my time into and then sit there at a meeting justifying why I arbitrarily cut up my time the way I did. It's in my absurdly detailed notes, which I wouldn't need if I just had an overhead task for a client. You want to take those hours and bill them? Be my guest. Don't eat the cost to remain competitive. I have no dog in that fight, but either give me the tools to accurately represent my time or don't complain about my fiction. I think the best part about this story is that they made a timesheet entry for making timesheet entries. I just see this story as OP covering their own butt, and I probably would have done the same thing given the same circumstances. Our next story comes to us from Artificial Serotonin. Cold hard cash? Sure thing. Let's jump right in. Prefacing this with the information that 1. My grandma has too much money. 2. My grandma has too much time. 3. My grandma has too big of a freezer. And 4. My grandma is petty AF. The story. I have a cousin who's always wanted all sorts of interesting things for his birthday. Grandma loved that. Absolutely effing adored it. She gave me a blow-in-the-butt turtle ocarina once, and I love it. That should explain her gifting for you. Now, As he grew up, he was less and less inclined to entertain Grandma's whimsical ideas and started requesting more mainstream presents. Grandma hated that and still found ways to make them whimsical. You want a guitar? Okay, but it'll have hippie wood-burning patterns on it. You want bed sheets? Sure thing, but they'll have tie-dyed prints all over and be made of silk. If it was possible to make a gift whimsical, Grandma would do it. We all knew this and started getting awfully specific in what we requested until one year he threw his hands up and said, "I don't know, just give me cold hard cash." Bad move. Very bad move. Grandma has chest freezers, the kind that are 4 feet deep, 4 feet across, and 12 feet long. Grandma also lives on a little foresty cottage plot, which means Grandma has access to all sorts of gardening tools and tinkers. So, Grandma being Grandma found a big bucket, an F-ton of little plastic seed bags, and got to work. Cousin, of course, was very excited to finally get a normal gift and was grinning at Grandma, thinking that he finally won the game. That is, until Grandma brought out a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot squared ice cube full of cash. It wasn't frozen together either. Oh no, Grandma had gotten creative and layered the effing ice gradually, freezing the cash solidly throughout the cube. The thing was icy white and oozing when brought into the room, and Grandma proudly announced that since he wanted cold hard cash, she gave him exactly that. This madwoman froze the equivalent of $1,000 in the ice in mixed money. There were tiny coins and bigger coins and bills in little seed bags near the center. It took the block about a week to melt because my cousin's birthday is in January and his mother refused to let it melt in the house for fear of water damage, so it sat in their garage slowly melting. Edited to add, bathtubs aren't common where I'm from and they didn't have one. Edit 2, it wasn't my block to melt and I'm not sure why Cousin and Co didn't put it in a shower. Moral of the story, don't F with Grandma and her whimsical presents. Wait a minute. Who gets $1,000 from their grandma regardless of how it comes for their birthday? That's absurd. I mean, I was just happy to see my grandparents and maybe get a little of my grandma's shortbread, and now I'm sitting here missing my grandparents. Thank you to all 4 OPs for posting their stories in the Malicious Compliance subreddit. They are linked in the description below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.